So Carmelo Anthony and Shaquille O'Neal had a very interesting sit down where they spoke on a bevy of topics, but it's very interesting to see the generational differences between these two players where they're really only 10 years apart. And within that time span, the NBA as well as the players were going through a transition in which the hierarchy was changing from the head coaches having all the power, sort of in a top-down military kind of format like the San Antonio Spurs, to eventually the star players having more power than the head coaches. And as we see it play out today, coaches speak to the players sort of like a peer that's working together. The reason why I'm stating this is because it shows you how their careers eventually played out. Shaquille O'Neal came into the NBA where the hierarchy, even from high school to college, was still the coach, almost in a role of a sergeant. And Carmelo Anthony came into the league at a time where AAU was beginning to become the mass circuit that it is now. Also the change in the 24/7 news cycle, where that allowed guys like LeBron James to get so much hype generated while still in high school. And with the success of Michael Jordan, by the time Melo got into the league, we seen players that have very powerful brands like the success of Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, etc. And that cultural cachet came with a lot of power, and guys were very brand conscious of it. So before we hear from these two players, let's add a nice little backdrop right here as Shaquille O'Neal explains how when he first showed up into the NBA, he did not even have the consciousness to understand that he could leverage his star power to get what he wants. That's how top down the overall sports circuit was, from amateur all the way to pro, during Shaquille O'Neal's come up. Listen to him right here as he explains the exact moment his teammate nudged his shoulder and told him to flex his power. Just peep how shocked he was when he found out it actually worked.
Arrogant, but professional arrogance.
It's important.
Because growing up, I never talked back to my father, high school coach, or college coach. You got a pad? I gotta tell you the story. Hand me that. So, you know, I'm nice and respectable. I'm trying to do things the right way. But D. Scott in my ear, man, it's your team, man. You got to take over.
Who said that?
D. Scott. D. Scott's like, hey, man, it's your team. Forget all that. It's your team. So I'm like, nah. So one day, Jerry Reynolds, Iceman, in the shoot-around, we playing against Dale Ellis. And Matty Gukas was like, hey, man, they going to run these plays for Dale Ellis. You got to go over the screen. So the first 3 plays, Jerry go under the screen. Dale, boom, 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 boom. So we call a timeout. And Matty was like, God damn it, Jerry, didn't I tell you go under? So this is the first time I seen a player talk back. I never seen that before. It's the first time I seen a player talk back. Jerry Reynolds go, fuck that shit, call some plays for me too. And I'm like, yeah. And then Matty did it. And then D was like, see, that's how you gotta be. So that's when I kind of started. I kind of started serving myself. So my first power move is.
That exact green light is something that star players already have built in before entering the NBA, especially guys like Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James. So once again, we're seeing the fundamental differences between Shaq and Melo as they entered the NBA. Just peep the mindset before we hear this sit down.
My first power move is after we lose, I'm in LA, same day. We lose on a Sunday, I'm in LA. So I'm shooting a movie, Blue Chips, and I say, hey, you gotta make me a court so I can work out. This skinny kid, this motherfucker diming me up like magic. I don't know who he is, because you know me, I don't be paying attention to the young cat. So I'm thinking he an actor. So finally I said, yo man, who's this? They said, yo man, that's Penny Hardaway. I said, he an actor? He said, no, they think he gonna be number 2, number 3 pick. I'm like, damn, so I got this in my head. So my first major move was when I found out we got the ball, hey man, y'all don't get this Penny dude, I'm gonna be looking to do something else. Just to try it. First time I was ever arrogant, first time I ever talked back. So now we shoot the movie whenever. So the draft comes, they draft C-Web. Now I'm pissed. I'm tearing my house up, breaking mirrors, breaking trophies, and then they do it. They do the switch. I'm like, man, D. Scott was right. It works. So the second big move, hey man, give me Horace.
Horace Grant.
I don't know if we can afford Horace. You don't get Horace, I'm gonna be looking to do something else after my deal out. So now I'm learning how to I'm learning how to maneuver because they saying it's your team. So we all know if it's my team and it don't go right, I'm getting the blame.
Yep.
So if I'm gonna get all the blame, I'm gonna make sure I'm totally in control.
So now we're going to hear from Carmelo Anthony and Shaquille O'Neal as they did a sit down and reflected on their careers and a lot of their trials and tribulations, especially Carmelo Anthony dealing with Phil Jackson, as he does represent one of these coaches that come from the old hierarchy of basketball, period, whether it be college, amateur, high school, or even the NBA. And figureheads like that are not accustomed to star players dictating everything. Coach Larry Brown is another example. George Karl, another coach that kind of had a tiff with Melo. That's why the era of those guys sort of ended in the mid-2010s, because just the player empowerment, the player movement was just too much for a lot of these guys to deal with. And a lot of their old tactics of just trying to motivate players no longer worked with the new generation. And Melo really was kind of ahead of his time, because the way the players kind of interact and their expectations of their kind of peer-to-peer relationship with their head coaches was exactly what Melo was looking for in his time during the NBA. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The game has evolved, right? Because the game is evolving, but it's evolving so much that it's going away from certain aspects of the game, right? That's why I said the basics of the game, the foundation of the game is still the same. You still have to be able to score on the block if you get the ball. You still have to be able to play at the elbow. You still have to be able to shoot a three. These are all the basics of the game. They taken away two of those basics of the game, the block and the mid-range. They taken away that because it's space, it's pace, it's how fast you can play, it's how high you can jump, how many points you can score. So because of that, you take away from the actual true essence of the game of basketball. So that's why it's hard for me to say somebody plays or have similarities, because they don't operate the same way. I can't see nobody in the triangle offense today. Like,
not at all.
You know, and
no.
so and this is something that
Shit, Melo, we couldn't even see no one in the triangle offense back when Phil Jackson had first arrived in New York. I don't want to say it was outdated, but Phil Jackson at the time, he had to utilize the kind of style of players that the last few NBA drafts had produced. And coming up with a different variation of that triangle offense is what was needed. A perfect example of it is the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr took some principles of the triangle offense, but he's tailored a system around Stephen Curry and the more modern, versatile players like Draymond Green and Klay Thompson.
to always have a problem with, because I know I study the triangle so much. It's like, I know you gotta have a team to run a triangle. You gotta have a post man. You gotta have a guard. I know all the, and the intricate parts of it.
Is it really as brilliant as people say it is?
It's brilliant. It's one of the most brilliant inventions.
Yeah. Because I hear the lore. I hear the lore.
Like,
yeah.
thank you, Tex.
Tex
Like,
Winter,
thank you,
at the end of
Tex,
the day,
because that's one of the greatest, and he's one with it. I only had the opportunity to experience it, but from the far, I've experienced it. Being a student of the game, I had to learn, damn, what is this? Like, this is immaculate. Like, you can't stop this. But then once you get it, it's clockwork. So that's why I say, who can play in that? You don't see a lot of people who could play in that type of system.
And Melo's referring to around the time that he was playing, because at that very exact moment, even the media narrative was that the big man was a dying breed. Look what happened to Roy Hibbert. So Melo's saying that the triangle offense needs a traditional big man. What happens when that player, due to the play style of the league at the time, was just really creating havoc on the defensive end due to the floor being so spaced out and guys having to come out all the way out there in the perimeter to defend?
Go ahead, please.
But what made it more brilliant is especially when you got 2 or 3 guys that go outside the system.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about the triangle and everybody's scouting the triangle, they'll say, okay, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he can do that. But then when you got a guy like me, like, for example, when the ball goes to the corner, I'm supposed to go out for the pick and roll. But I would say, no, I'm going to repost.
Yeah, that's a repost.
You know what I'm saying? It's a repost. I throw it out and I bunch it back 3 feet and then I go. So other guys like, Will Purdue, when they throw it out, the guy cuts out, then they go set the pick and roll for my, and then you guys got like Kobe and Mike at the top of the key saying move, and then you go to work. Yeah. So that's what really got us.
And Shaq right there, when he's saying that Michael Jordan told guys to move, he was able to take advantage of the illegal defense at the time. So sometimes great players in isolation, they were able to cook a lot different back then. Zone defense was illegal in the Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson days.
Do you feel like that style of play will ever make a comeback, so to say?
No, never.
It's too for one, is too tedious, right? You have to teach it. You have to teach every aspect of it. And then everybody has to be on one accord in that. It's like you string everybody to move at the same time. One false move could be a turnover. One false move, you're out of position. The wrong space, you're out of. If you 1 foot over, you could be out of. Like it's very precise like that. So I just don't see anybody willing to take that chance today and implement that system. You see it though, San Antonio. Well, you used to see it with San Antonio, Golden State. You know, they still have triangle principles with Golden State.
And now Melo's going to talk about his relationship with Phil Jackson. This is where everything I stated before kind of comes full circle. Phil comes from that era of basketball where the coach is a sergeant. So sometimes shit talking is part of the motivation. He did it to Michael Jordan. He did it to Kobe. But by the time he came into New York, it was a different NBA. The player empowerment movement was at its height. Stars like Carmelo Anthony looked at their coaches as well as even the team president as peers. And him, as well as the new generation of players, took that shit talking in front of the media not as motivation and interpreted it a lot different. Even though Phil Jackson was old and outdated, some of the things he was saying at Melo was an observation because Melo branded himself as a guy that wanted to compete for championships. And eventually down the line, some of those things did come back to haunt Melo, as even the Oklahoma City Thunder traded him away just to save money. And in the following season, he was cut by the Houston Rockets after only a 2-week appearance, and eventually the Blazers end up signing him to a non-guaranteed contract before giving him a guarantee in the second season. So when that whole Carmelo Anthony, Phil Jackson sort of media beef, both sides had valid points that the other could have really took into consideration.
When you have stories, then you have truth, you ain't in no rush to get to the truth. He had stories. I had the truth. I've never spoken on it. I've never said anything to nobody. I took the shots, whatever came with it.
I hated your coach.
Who? He
George
talking
Karl.
about Phil.
Oh, I'm talking about Coach Karl.
Oh, he talking about Phil.
Yeah.
And my thing about that, and this is why I say, you know, let me close this.
Hold on, you and Phil had beef? I never knew that.
I don't Phil got beef. I ain't got no.
Okay.
Yeah. He's actually.
I like Phil. I hated Coach Karl.
Now notice right there, Shaq said, I liked Phil. That's because Shaq was used to his style of coaching. That's what he experienced not only in his come up, but in his first few years in the league. And also, Shaq grew up with a military father, so he was used to certain tactics when it came to motivation. Once again, we're about to see the fundamental differences between, I would say, two different generations, just 10 years apart from coming into the league.
Phil was different.
Well, I wanted to ask you philosophically how you feel about this, because as a fan, I would see what's happening with you guys. Then he would drop a book telling a story about you.
Let me get a difference. I would have a different perspective, right? If I was sitting in his seat, right? In the seat of Phil was my coach. He coached me, right? So if you want me to do something, you can coach me through it. You can bring it to my attention. You can break it down because you are coaching the game. So I respect you as the coach of the game. You're the president of the team, talking about the team.
Right.
And if you talk about the team and the team is not good, then who does the bullets go to? The guy who wears a white hat on the team.
Right.
Because it's an easier scapegoat to point me out than it is to just say, and man up and say, you know what? My tenure here wasn't great at all. I had a tenure. I should have came down there and coached. That was my only thing.
Now, Melo, that was never going to happen. I believe Phil Jackson understood the Knicks didn't necessarily have the amount of years to actually build up in kind of real equity with him being the team president. And also, the Phil Jackson hiring almost looked like a political move by James Dolan, because fans literally around that same time were standing around MSG protesting the team. Who knows? Maybe Phil never really wanted the job, and this was pretty much just a position where the team could overall save face. And there's plenty of stories out there of the non-seriousness Phil Jackson had when it came to being the team president. Just falling asleep, being too stuck on certain player archetypes, and just overlooking a lot of players in the draft. It was definitely a hiring mistake by James Dolan, And sometimes to find the right people to hire is a tough task. Look at Dolan now. He looks a lot comfortable because he has the right personnel running the team. He almost looks like a new man in a way. He's smiling a lot more. And it's not just because they're winning. It's almost in a way that he gave his keys to the Ferrari to a friend. He sleeps comfortable at night knowing that his friend is going to bring it back in one piece.
So to close the, I brought it back full circle. Like, look, I had 2 conversations with you ever in 5 years.
Once again, that right there shows you how lack of seriousness Phil Jackson had when he had that roll up in the MSG. My man Phil looked like he came inside the building more concerned about what was everyone gonna have for lunch. God damn, you talked to Melo 5 times in 6 years? What the hell? We had no chance to win anything.
Yeah, it's a very strange power dynamic. How did you navigate? It's weird. It's a very
weird.
strange thing to navigate. Yeah.
If you was my coach, if you came down, I think I said this back then. I said, listen, I would want nothing more than Phil Jackson to come out the front office. And he should coach this team. He should coach this team. You can't give Derek Fisher and throw him under the bus like that. You can't do that. And D. Fisher's my guy. Now he's my colleague, you know what I mean, right now. But you can't do that at that point in time.
And I didn't look at it from that perspective. Very interesting and great take. When I first met Phil, and he coached me, so I didn't think of it like you said. So that was a great point right there. Because of his resume, I just shut up.
Right there, you see the fundamental difference between the two? Shaq is used to that top-down order. Melo already knows his resume, but he's looking at him more of a peer. And today's generation of NBA players, they come into the league with that expectation. Just look at what JJ Redick is going through with the Lakers right now.
How crazy that is to be at an airport and be like, damn, I didn't know you felt that way about me.
My thing was, Carmelo knows the pressure of being great, but then people throw in your face you haven't won.
Yeah.
So out of all the superstars, I probably have the most sweeps out of all superstars. Right, I've been swept 5 times. So the pressure was adding up. So now when I said Phil's coming, I was like, I'm gonna just shut up and listen because what I'm doing and all these other guys ain't working. But from day one, I know he was a psychological guy because he used to do the same dumb my father made me do.
Once again, you see how Shaq makes that correlation to his military father and Phil Jackson? A lot of the coaches from Phil Jackson's era did the same things. The Greg Popovich archetypes, the Larry Brown, George Karl. Even Pat Riley down there in Miami used to play the same games. And nowadays, he's actually kind of wheeling things back a little bit due to the fact that he's starting to hit a wall with today's players. Understanding that style of motivation has to be dialed back.
So first time I get to his house, he opens the door. He said, hey, I need you to move that log to that island. And he shuts the door. And I'm looking, it's a big log on the thing, and the island's over there. He wanted me to jump in the cold water with his son and swim, push the log to the thing. So I'm saying to myself, like, okay, my daddy used to do this. Hey, go outside and rake the leaves. And rake the neighbor's leaves, and rake the neighbor's leaves, and you got 2 hours to do it. I said, okay, so I did it. That water was cold, and I almost died when I jumped in that water. I had to take my clothes off, it was just my drawers and the tank top and freeze. But I did it, and then we came in and we had a talk. He said, okay, you passed the first test. And he told me straight up, he said, if you would have gave me about moving that log, I wouldn't have coached.
Now, this is a beautiful point right here because imagine if it was Melo in 2015, him going up there in Minnesota. I believe that's where Phil Jackson is at. He probably more than likely would not have done that. And Phil would have said, hell no, I'm not coaching this team. Matter of fact, it wouldn't shock me when Phil Jackson entered the MSG building, he did the same log experiment on Melo in different ways and experienced pushback. And that's when he realized he would never coach this team.
I'm hearing a lot of things about you and Kobe, but you the guy. I want to see how you are. See, he didn't know that I grew up in that type of background, so my relationship with Phil was different. But your other coach, Carl, I hated him.
Yeah, I shut that door a long time.
I didn't like
But can
Coach
you guys
Carl.
explain why though?
Okay, so my All-Star game, I'm coming up. They double, triple team me in All-Star game. I'm
It was
out-
competitive back then.
No, man. No, man.
It was a different All-Star game back then.
You don't double team people in the All-Star
It's a
game.
different All-Star game.
Man, it's so fascinating what triggers you.
Bro,
It's so interesting. Like, it's a very interesting.
Get out my space.
Yeah.
no, because
So interesting.
during our regular season, we got to do our regular post and all that. All-Stars, like,
Yeah.
1 or 2 times, just let me in and out, to pull it. Like,
Showtime.
Yeah, showtime. What to do? And he double and triple team me. I got to pass the ball. I never did like him after that. And I didn't like how he treated you. I really didn't like that.
Okay, so then what's your story?
My story was,
He's aired it out on the podcast.
yeah, but in a nutshell, right? My story is a young black basketball player coming from a very specific place, coming from the hood, getting to a Denver Nuggets organization, having to wear the white hat, being thrown the keys and telling, hey, go win me a championship at 19, 20 years old.
Now notice right there, Melo said being thrown the keys. That's exactly what George Karl had an issue with. Him, Larry Brown, they hated the fact that organizations started tossing the keys at these young rookies coming in. That was a shift in the NBA. It wasn't like that before. I believe Kobe Bryant came into the league only 6 years before Melo, and he was purposely left on the bench. He had to earn that starting role, and that's just how the league was. Guys had to earn their starting role. So I'll shoot Melo some bail because George Karl was on the defense because of the whole Allen Iverson, Larry Brown situation. And Melo even spoke about the same thing playing out in the Olympic trials that he had with Larry Brown. He did not like a lot of his experiences with Allen Iverson in Philly, just him having the keys to the franchise. And he made an example of LeBron James, Amari Stoudemire, and Carmelo Anthony by basically suspending them for, I believe, a Team USA showcase in Jacksonville. But the league definitely was going through a shift, and a lot of head coaches were slowly being stripped away of their power, that sort of drill sergeant autonomy.
And so that was part of it. Then now you get an older coach who is very traditional, my way or the highway, cut from a different coaching cloth.
Hey, that right there, my way or the highway, is that drill sergeant autonomy right there. Coaches were being stripped of that very slowly ever since Allen Iverson came into the league, and it sort of jumped into a whole nother stratosphere by the time LeBron came into the NBA.
Right, from Dean Smith, North Carolina, like he come from basketball royalty. But then now that knowledge and your personality just does not match. And you don't know how to relate to that young 19, 20-year-old black kid.
That's that peer-to-peer relationship that we see today players have with coaches. In a way, unfortunate for Melo, I believe he was drafted too early. Had he been just 7 to 10 years younger, he would be a lot more comfortable in today's NBA landscape for the coach-player dynamic that he wanted.
In Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. Location matters for sure.
I hope that,
yeah.
in a nutshell,
Yeah.
without airing them out.
So there you have it. 2 different players just 10 years apart, and it's a totally different interpretation of just the coach-player dynamic. And it even came down to the way each player interpreted the motivational approaches from their commander-in-chief. But hey, as the influx of money just keeps coming into the NBA, and the bags are just getting larger and larger and larger, the hierarchy among stars and certain personnel in the franchises are always going to get blurred.